Hey y'all, it's Magnolia Money, and I wanted to give you guys an update from the video that I did last night regarding the states that you see at the top for Louisiana, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. I just wanted to show you guys, kind of give you an idea. Maybe this will help you out in learning how to do some extra rundowns for your Cash 3, Pick 3, Daily 3, or Numbers games, depending on what your state calls it. As you guys can see, I have got a setup here at the bottom, which I'm going to go over here in just a few moments. But real quick, I just want to recap from the previous video, you guys that came in and watched it. As you can see here for Louisiana, I have the numbers out to the right-hand side here. 553 played, and you can see over here on the rundown, I have the straight up 553 marked. And if you use mirrors, you can see where 5, this would play as a 5, and there's your 3. If you noticed yesterday, I told you guys to watch around the 9s, okay? I didn't mark them in every single one of these because the 4s were fairly distributed. So anyhow, these here, because of this gap, I told you guys to watch and pay attention to the 9s. And you can see here that it played around those 9s. It touched each of those, as well as here. You can see it came off of your date sum. This one here is for North Carolina. North Carolina's winning number for tonight, or for this particular day, was 430. Not really sure if that was the exact order that it came in, but I know that those were the 3 numbers. Either way, you can see where the 430 played. It actually used the date sum, so this is a good example. You have your 4, you have an 8, and a 5. The reason why the 8 is circled is because it is the mirror. Your 5 is a mirror to the 0, so that's why these are circled here. You can see again that they play using or touching the date sum. Same here. Now Wisconsin, as you can see, it did use and play off of these 9s here, not necessarily these at the bottom, but whatever you see here repeating, if you see that down here often or up here, you might want to check this, and that's why I tell you guys to like cross-reference with other sources or other methods, because what you might see here will not play, as you can see up here did. So anyhow, that is going to be one, which in Wisconsin was 696. Kentucky had 261. You can see it played and touched all around this date sum. And you can see that it played and touched around like all of that here. Same thing goes for Florida. I told you guys to check the 9s. Here's the 9 at the top because it was a mirror of the 4. All right, you got it right here. 6, 7, 8, a series. They say series brings doubles within the next few draws, so it's a possibility that could happen. Just keep an eye on that. Now, as far as Georgia, you can see it plays around the date sums. Again, it won't be every single one, like I said yesterday, but the majority of them will be played, as you can see right through here. And it uses the 9 here. So anyhow, you've got these. See how it touches that 9? It comes off of this date sum here. All right, so you guys, y'all can kind of see a little bit about what's going on there. We're going to go down here. So anyway, that was only good for the specific night of February 22nd. And we're going to go here. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things for February 23rd. Now, I have different states on here listed. As you can see, I have New York, Arkansas, California, Mississippi, and Nebraska. I have them together. There's a reason for that. I'll explain in a moment. I have Kentucky, and then I have a little extra for Kentucky on their next draw, which can work for their morning or evening draw, or midday evening, whatever it is that's called for this state. I believe this showed 2 drawings. So anyhow, we're going to get into a couple of those here in just a moment. First things first, all right, the reason why I have Mississippi and Nebraska set up on the same one is because this same number dropped in both states. So this rundown is good for both states. Now, will the same exact number play out in both? No. Key factor is this. Mississippi people, y'all know what numbers have been being hot. Y'all know what numbers have been cold. Same with Nebraska. You guys are just going to have to look at what has recently been played and see which ones are hot for your state. So you're going to base it off of that. That's going to be the first thing. But this is going to be the same rundown you would use for both states. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next thing. I just talked about mirrors. Okay, I'm going to give a real quick recap on what a mirror is. A mirror is where you take your digit and add 5 to it, and it can play as that number. If you add 5 to this, it would be 10. You keep only what's in the ones position again. If you're not familiar with how to create these grids, there's a link in the description that will take you to how I set these up. You can find it on my playlist under Cash 3 on my channel. That's another way. But you guys can see here 0 can be a 5 can be a 0. That's why when I was discussing this up here and I told you that 553 came out, or excuse me, yeah, 553, your 5, this would play as a 5, and there's your 3. So you can see that that happens. As you do this more, you'll catch on to those, and it'll become like second nature, like almost learning another language, really. So 1 and 6 can play as each other, 2 and a 7, a 3 and an 8 can play as each other, and a 4 and a 9. Now, second thing I want to point out is a date sum. A date sum is where you take the month and you add it to this here. So this would actually be 25. You only keep what's in the ones position, so it's 5. Usually what I do is just take that, the month number, last digit of the month, last digit of this, and just add them. All right, so you've got 5. So that's why your date sum for this one is going to be a 5. That's why the 5s are highlighted. Now, if you notice, I have these zeros squared off. There's a reason for that. It's because it's the mirror, all right, like we just discussed. So with that being said, it is going to come off and touch, if not use, in this section right here. It will happen in this section. And which these are kind of center. So, I mean, they're going to be touching because they're so close together. And then right here, you're going to find the meat of your numbers coming from right here. You know, like I said, it's usually going to come through the middle, but just keep a check. This one here, I've actually not seen this one happen in a while where it's like straight across. So that actually looks pretty interesting. I'm going to probably be watching Kentucky tomorrow because I'm curious to see how these fall. You've got your 3 numbers that are alike right there. I'm not really sure what Kentucky's been looking like lately, but anyway, I think this is an interesting setup. So I'm curious how this is going to fall tomorrow based on the draws. Now, somebody asked me if you can use these for your following draw. Yes, you can, but I typically only use from draw to draw, which Mississippi only has 1, so it's just going to be the next day for us. But like with Georgia and other states, I know they have multiple drawings, so you can try it and use that. But the main thing is that these are only going to be good for February 23rd. All right, so these are your rundowns. You can screenshot that and then use this, print it out, whatever you need to do. The next thing I want to show you guys is this here. This is real important. All right, so say for instance, and we're just going to look at Mississippi and Nebraska, mainly because I'm from Mississippi, and I'm really kind of curious to see what we got going on. All right, so if you're looking at your 5, you start with your date sum. You know that the number is going to touch or use whatever your date sum is. So I immediately start looking. Okay, I see a 6, a 2, a 4, a 6, and a 4. Okay, so instantly I'm already saying, all right, 4s look good, 6s look good for tomorrow. But I also realize that a 6 can play as a 1, and I also realize that a 4 can play as a 9. Now in Mississippi, 9s have been hot lately. We just had, again, tonight, the 626 drop, so obviously the 6s are more than likely, I'm going to say most likely, could possibly roll over for tomorrow. Now, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. It kind of had like a little bit of a reset in one of my, well, actually 2 of my other grids that I use kind of reset on me tonight. So when that happens, I usually kind of watch it real close for the next day or 2. But anyway, we're going to get started on this one. So like we see these numbers are around here. So I'll go down here and I'll look to see what's here. We have 8s that play next to it. We have a 2, a 6, and a 4. All right, so I'm seeing a 4 and a 6 repeat itself, okay? I see that 2 is right there, and it kind of repeats. All right, so then I come around this section, and then as you can see, I have a 1, 2, 4, 6, and a 9 playing next to this 0. All right, so I take into consideration what's around each one of these, and that's when I start cross-referencing it with, like, Tic Tac Toe methods. I cross-reference it with a 927 where you just add 1 all the way down. It would be like 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until you get back to it, 2, and it would be like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you would have, your 1 and your 2 at the bottom. So, like, there's that particular rundown, but anyway, we're just looking, like I said, just for what's most common around it. Now, this one here, you can see that you have 8s. You have 3 of them touching that particular date sum, or, the mirror of the date sum. And then you have a 7 and a 2. All right, so you come around here and you look and you see that the 6s and the 9s are, 4s. I say 9s because, like I said, after a while you start seeing this as a second language. But you see that the 4 9s are possible. The 6 1 is very likely. You do see that the 8 comes here. So these are just, like I said, just little things you want to check for on when you're trying to read these. I hope that helps you guys. Now, like I said, I'm really interested in Kentucky. Usually what I do for Mississippi is I create a base +1, a flip +1, a +3 base with a -3, and I'm going to give you an explanation of how to do this tic-tac-toe. All right, so the only time I ever use a flip number is to get my tic-tac-toes right here, these particular two. All right, once I get these two, let me zoom in here just a little bit, get a little closer so you guys can see this. All right, with a flip number, these are numbers when you add 3 to it, okay? So if you have a 0 and you add 3 to it, you get a 3. That's your flip number from a 0. Let's go over here. So say you get a 3 and you want to flip that, it would be a 6. 6 would be a 9, 7 would be a 0. Now, if you're looking at these numbers and you want to reverse that, people call it like a reverse flip, and you can use what's on top. So you would subtract the 3 from it, and it would be there because you're reversing it. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and continue on. These are your flip numbers if you want to write those down. What I do is I take the night's winning number, which for Kentucky was 261. I take it, and this is what I call my base number. I go 261 down the middle of the tic-tac-toe board. I go 261 down this one. Then I come over here, and I need to come down the middle again. But what I need to do is flip these numbers. All right, so I take a 2, and I look at my chart. 2, you add 3 to it, it's 5. So I have my 5 here. All right, 6, you add 3, you have your 9. 1, you add 3, you now have a 4. Again, you can see where these are all on the list here. All right, so I've got my 594, I mark it down the middle. Now, for this base +1, I start at the bottom middle number, all right? Then I add 1 to it. 2, going counterclockwise, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I come over to my flip +1 chart. I start at the bottom middle number. All right, and then I'm going to add 1 to it. 5, 6, 7, going counterclockwise, 8, 9, and then 10. I'll only keep what's in that 1's position. All right, so we're going to only keep the 0. Now, when you come down here to do your base, what you'll want to do is you want to start right here with your first number. It's going to have your tic-tac-toe board. You're going to only have like your 216 in the middle of it, toward the bottom. All right, you're going to have your 2, and you're going to add 3 on the left-hand side, which is going to give you 5. A 6 with adding 3 would give you a 9. A 1 adding 3 would be a 4. Now on this side, you are going to subtract 3. All right, so if you say 12, because you can't really do like the 2 minus, but if you add in the imaginary 1 right here, 12 minus 3 is going to be 9. Say you have 6 minus 3 is going to be 3. 11, again, you're imagining that extra 1 right there. 11 minus 8, or excuse me, 11 minus 3 is 8. All right, so that's how I get this particular tic-tac-toe. Same exact thing over here. You're going to add 3 to this side. You're going to subtract 3. Now, what I do next, for me personally with my state that I have found that works best, is they usually play 2 heavy, 1 light. What I mean by that is if you look at this, if you are keeping in mind your mirrors, all right, 6 and a 1 can play as each other, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind that your 2s and your 7s play as each other. All right, so when I come over here to look, like with Kentucky, the first thing that I notice is there are some heavy sets of numbers in here. There is a 6, 6, 1, which means that's either 3 1s or 3 6s, okay? The next thing I notice is there's a 7, 2, 2. That's very heavy because it's taking up the majority of the board, so that's either going to be 3 7s or 3 2s. So what I would do would be write down like 6, 7, and then I would write down 1, 2. Now, it could come out in any combination, like it could be a 6, 2, or it could be 6, 7, it could be 1, 2, 1, 7. I write those numbers down because to me, they stand out the most for this one, okay? Then I come over here and I realize, okay, the 9s are heavy here and the 4s are heavy, depending on how you mirror it. And another thing I notice is the 5s and the 0s. So I write that same exact type of combination as I would from here. Now, because I haven't tracked Kentucky, I can't really say which one of these is going to be like your most dominant. I know for Mississippi, we take spells where like our base is pretty much a dominant one with the +3, -3. And sometimes these aren't. So I don't know if these are going to be more accurate than these. You're just going to have to back test these and see how this works for your state. And this can work for any state. I'm just using Kentucky as an example. So for tomorrow, what you'll want to do is you'll want to look for, like, say, for instance, you have Your 4s and 9s are playing heavy right here. All right, your second heavy number is going to be that 6 and 1. All right. And when I told you earlier, you want to look for something that's going to be like heavy, heavy, light. You look for 2 heavies and 1 light. Instantly, just based on this right here, and this is just, like I said, just a very quick look at this without any kind of backtracking on your state, I'm already seeing like a 4-9, a 6-1, and because of the fact that the 5s and the 0s are right here, I'm looking at the 5-0 because there's only one of them in this chart. All right, going over here, I see that the 6-1 is playing heavy. I see that this right here is playing heavy, but I really do see those 7-2s. All right, this is where I talk about cross-referencing. You got to come over here and find that date sum. All right, that date sum is going to be a 5. All right, its mirror is a 0. First thing that I notice, like I said, those 5s are playing in all of them. The 0s are playing heavy. It's a good possibility that a 5 and or 0 could play tomorrow. Another thing that I notice is heavy is going to be in this one, would be like your 7s and 2s, same as this one. So I'm realizing that, okay, it's a possibility. It's a 5-2. It could be a 0-2. It could be a 5-7. And then I notice, guess what? We have those 9s and 4s. All right. If it decides not to use one of these, like say for instance the 5 or the 0, you also notice that your 2s, 4s, and 6s are playing heavy right here. Usually it doesn't just only go straight down. And again, they're going to use mirrors. That's the key thing you need to remember. They will use mirrors. Okay, you're rarely ever do you just get a straight out play. As you can see in a reference here, you know, you do have it where they play straight out. You know, the knight's number was like what? 7, 6, 8, and you can see that the 6, 7, 8 right through here was played, you know, exactly as what we call a base number. But you can also see where it's mirrored very heavily. All the circles are where they're mirrored. So keep that in mind. Use this tic-tac-toe method along with your 927 and whatever other methods you are using. I recommend, you know, whatever you're currently using and it's been working for you or getting you close, try adding this in and seeing if these two methods will work together for you. And again, I'm going to be keeping an eye on Kentucky for tomorrow. But again, as well, this is only good for the date of 2/23. Now, I will try to get more videos up. I had a really good response about these, so I'm going to try to get some of these different states at random and do like a little test run with them. So if you are interested in having your state ran through and just kind of set up like this for you guys, just let me know. Leave a comment below which state you're from, and we'll test run it and see how it works for your state. I appreciate you guys. If you're not subscribed, please be sure to do so. If you would, hit the like and, you know, let me know how things are going for you in your state. And, you know, I'll see you guys soon. Y'all take care and have a blessed day and good luck.